Alright, C-Series Bobcat. Tell you what the problem is. There's some wiring issues with them. Water issues the main thing. And if your wheels aren't turned right neither, they can wallow out. The weld should be to the inside. These wheels aren't offset, but the valve stem should be to the outside. The spacer and the weld to the inside. They can go either way, but it's hub centrifugal. It means this centers up on the hub and it'll tighten down. If you put it on where the valve stems are on the inside, it'll go clink, clink, clink. You can't get it tight enough to tighten up because of the way that's offset. And you need to put anti-seize on them. People don't do that a lot, but we touched up some paint, some orange on the wheels. The white was touched up and the black was touched up, but this one's got the best motor in it. Everything, the research I've done and heard, the Kubota diesel says 7.5 quarts, but it's showing slat full at 7, and it's not really level, but it is. But I got the other quart. Anyway, changed the filters and all. There is a lift arm control bypass. It gives problems. Painted these wheels here too, because the guy that sold it, he turned them around because the inside looked better than the outside. That's the only reason he did it. Instead of painting it or cleaning it up, he didn't even paint anything on it. Let me climb up here. Hold on. Too old for this. And the hydraulics are leaking down. But I said the other day, this sponge holds water, and it's rusting and it's rotting. If you do not have a place to put equipment in a shed, you don't need to buy it to put it outside. This right here, I can get the camera on it, right here, this is the lift arm bypass. That valve is $100. This is sitting on the sponge and rusting and rotten. Solenoid there is. Everything through here is. It's rotting down. The boy on the video, he took it out. You take these two bolts off here on your control arms. It will let you get to these bolts here and down here, and this whole panel will come out. And they've got a newer one that's designed a little different, but that ain't gonna stop your water problem. That ain't gonna stop your rust. That ain't gonna stop all this foam from eating up your metal. This seat, can you see that? That whole thing is flimsy, moving everywhere. The only thing it holds it's when it's sitting down, it lips, the angle lips right there on both sides and holds it. That's the only thing really holding it on the sides. And the foam's for sound deadening and heat absorption, I think, also. But that valve, the top of it's rusted. I bought a plug to put in it, and if you plug it off, you do not have your boom lift with this pedal here on the right. You don't have the boom lift or the lower if you plug that off. I got a valve ordered because it's in my Bobcat. I took, and after I found out I could get just that, because if you got to buy the meter and block and all with it, and they show a rebuild kit, and the guy said no, but I found one online and the rebuild kit was $100. So the valve's $100, rebuild kit's $100. So guess what? I'm buying the whole valve. But I took that, and where it was rusted and rotted up top, I welded it. I wrapped it in water, dipped it down in water, and I welded that plunger up top to where it won't leak. And it's not leaking. So that'll get you by if you don't want to spend $100. But if it gets stuck up in the air and you have to let it down, I don't know why it would get stuck in the air, but that will let it down. If you weld it up, you don't have an emergency letdown. I don't know why that safety's in there anyway, but the bottom of the plunger has 2 sets of O-rings, and it's got a little diaphragm that moves to let it slide up and down, to let the pressure go from one side to the other, to let it down, to bypass. That's all it does. This right here locks it when it's up if you're doing maintenance on it, but you don't need to raise it on the trailer because it'll tilt backwards, throw the weight off of it. But anyway, I've got a job to do with it. But that is the lift arm control bypass. $100. I saw a guy said he had swapped it. His was a little different. This is like a 91 model. But there's a control valve there. There's one right there. And then his showed one over here also that was getting rust damage. Well, his must be older because this one don't have it over here. It's got some electronics, not much, safety stuff. And that's what I like about this. And there are some problems with the wiring harness. It's all right there and right there. And the wires are at the very back here under this, that run up there. And they've bypassed some stuff like the safety switch because it rots out. He got a good deal on the Bobcat though, I ain't gonna lie. For what we paid for that little 610 Bobcat back in the 80s, we gave like $3 grand for it. And it's still a great one because it's small and it can get in places. It dug my basement out of my house. This one here is 10 grand. But that's secondhand because the other guy bought it from somebody else and he marked it up, I guarantee you. I know he did. But anyway, that's the lift arm control bypass. It's going to rot out. It's going to rust out. You can weld the top of it and make sure you give it to somebody that can weld it and know that it's welded where it won't leak, because basically you're just plugging the hole up top is what you're doing. And left the knob off because I screw it in, screw it out, put a 1-inch socket on it to get it out, or a 1-inch wrench from on the bottom, but I pulled all the foam off that bottom from around it, so hopefully it won't do it. But like I said the other day, this right here is where all that's the solenoid that touches it back. Here was the front solenoid, and there's the pipe that sits there and lays with water in it, and it's wet and it ain't rained in 3 days, and I've got it covered. I told them, I said minimum covered. I might tell him we'll build him a lean shed where he can put this stuff in if he keeps his mama's house. He's got another house up there in the country. I told him, put your lean shed. You can get one for a couple of $1,000 with a couple of pieces of tin on it, and park your termite and park this up under it because you're running. He wants it to last. It ain't going to last with water sitting on it, rusting and rotting off, because I hate to replace that one there. That goes back here to the filter. That's the main line in. So, anyway, thought I'd update on this thing. I got to get the wheels back on it and get it down off this front bucket. It's creeping down. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good day.